the East End of London, 1933. Bomb sites and poverty were the backdrop for a new generation. Among them were twins, Reggie and Ronnie Kray. Born just minutes apart, they were identical in appearance, but already showing hints of different personalities. Reggie, the elder, was seen as quieter, more thoughtful. Ronnie, impulsive and energetic. Their childhood home, shared with older brother Charlie and doting mother Violet, was a small flat on Valence Road. Life was hard, but familial love ran deeper. Particularly, Raw might flow from their grandfather, Jimmy Cannonball Lee, a local character with a shady past. Their father, Charles Sr., was a presence more absent than not. A street trader by day, he drifted in and out of their lives, leaving the boys to be raised primarily by women. This absence, some argue, contributed to their later paths. The streets of Bethnal Green became their playground, a rough and tumble environment where survival often meant using fists before words. It was here, amidst the post-war rubble and social upheaval, that the seeds of their future were sown. Post-war London was a city rebuilding, but for the Kray twins, their world remained confined to the East End. School held little interest, they craved excitement, a break from the mundane. Their grandfather, with his tales of bare-knuckle boxing and underworld connections, became a romanticized figure. The boys, already prone to fighting, saw in him a reflection of their own burgeoning aggression. Their teenage years were marked by petty crime, shoplifting, fights, nothing too serious, or so it seemed. But a pattern was emerging, a disregard for authority, a thirst for power, and a willingness to use violence to achieve their goals. These early skirmishes, often against rival gangs, honed their fighting skills. They were fearless, even eager to prove themselves. The twins, once inseparable, began to develop distinct reputations. Reggie, the strategist, the planner. Ronnie, unpredictable, prone to sudden bursts of rage. Together, they were a formidable force. Boxing offered an outlet, a socially acceptable way to channel their aggression. They excelled, both showing natural talent. Reggie, disciplined and technically sound. Ronnie, a brawler fueled by fury. Their amateur bouts drew crowds, whispers of their growing reputation preceding them. But their ambition went beyond the confines of the ring. The criminal underworld, with its promise of easy money and power, beckoned. National service offered no escape. Their rebellious streak couldn't be contained. Court-martials and eventual dishonorable discharges followed. Back on the streets of London, they were free to fully embrace their criminal ambitions. Protection rackets, their first foray into organized crime, proved lucrative. Shopkeepers, fearing their reputation, paid for protection they didn't want. The twins, ruthless and efficient, grew bolder. Their gang, the Firm, began to attract other disenfranchised youths, eager to share in the spoils. The 1960s dawned, and with it, the Kray's grip on London tightened. The Firm, no longer a ragtag group of thugs, was a well-oiled machine. Extortion, robbery, gambling dens, their empire expanded. Nightclubs, once symbols of glamour, became their playgrounds and fronts for illegal activities. They cultivated an image both feared and admired. Politicians, celebrities, even royalty brushed shoulders with the twins at their exclusive clubs. Their reputation became their currency. Fear, respect, and a carefully cultivated aura of invincibility kept the money flowing and the authorities at bay. They were untouchable, or so it seemed. Ronnie, increasingly erratic and open about his homosexuality, a taboo subject in those days, became a liability. Reggie, always the calmer, more calculating brother, tried to rein him in. Their bond, once unbreakable, began to show signs of strain. Despite their shared history and ambitions, Reggie and Ronnie were vastly different men. Reggie, the elder by 10 minutes, possessed a calculating mind. He was charming, capable of chilling ruthlessness, but always in control. Ronnie, on the other hand, was a whirlwind of emotions. His temper was legendary, his violence unpredictable. Openly gay, in a time when homosexuality was illegal, Ronnie was a mass of contradictions. Yet, their bond remained unbreakable. They were each other's confidants, protectors, and partners in crime. Reggie, the strategist, planned their moves. Ronnie, the enforcer, ensured their success. They were a study in contrast, two sides of the same coin, forever linked by blood and ambition. This complex relationship, a mixture of love, loyalty, and a shared thirst for power, would ultimately contribute to their downfall. The Krays' reign, however, was built on a foundation of violence. They ruled through fear and intimidation. Those who crossed them or refused to play their game met with swift and brutal retribution. Jack the Hat McVitie, a low-level associate who failed to carry out a hit, became a chilling example. His murder, ordered by Ronnie in a fit of rage, sent shockwaves through the underworld. Even within their own ranks, dissent was met with violence. Their enforcer, Frank the Mad Axeman Mitchell, disappeared after a falling out. His body, never found, served as a stark reminder of the price of betrayal. Their ruthlessness knew no bounds. The East End, once their playground, became their fiefdom, ruled with an iron fist. The net began to close in during the late 1960s. Detective Leonard Nipper Red, a determined Scotland Yard detective, made it his mission to bring down the Krays. He understood their power stemmed from fear and silence. He painstakingly built his case, exploiting rivalries, turning witnesses, and slowly dismantling their carefully constructed facade. Within the firm, cracks began to show. Ronnie, increasingly paranoid and unstable, became a liability. His erratic behavior and violent outbursts threatened their carefully crafted image. Reggie, struggling to maintain control, found himself torn between loyalty to his brother and the survival of their empire. The pressure mounted, mistakes were made, the walls were closing in, and the twins' days of freedom were numbered. The trial of the Kray Twins was a media sensation. The public, both horrified and fascinated by their exploits, followed every detail. Witnesses, some finally emboldened to break their silence, recounted tales of violence and intimidation. The evidence was overwhelming. In 1969, the reign of terror came to an end. Both Reggie and Ronnie were found guilty of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. Their empire, built on fear and violence, crumbled. The once untouchable twins were now subject to the rigid confines of prison life. Reggie, always the pragmatist, adjusted to his new reality. Ronnie, unable to cope with the loss of freedom and plagued by mental illness, spent his remaining years in Broadmoor Hospital. The East End, finally free from their grip, breathed a collective sigh of relief. The Kray twins died as they lived, surrounded by controversy. Ronnie in 1995 from a heart attack. Reggie, released from prison on compassionate grounds due to terminal cancer, followed in 2000. Their deaths, however, did little to diminish their notoriety. They remain, even today, objects of morbid fascination. Books, films, and countless articles continue to dissect their lives, fueling a debate that rages on. Were they cold-blooded killers or products of their environment? Their story, a cautionary tale of ambition, violence, and the corrupting influence of power, continues to captivate. For some, they remain symbols of a bygone era, romanticized figures who live by their own code. For others, they are a reminder of the dark underbelly of society. Proof that even in death, some sins are not easily forgotten. The legacy of the Kray twins, a complex tapestry of brutality and allure, continues to fascinate and repel in equal measure.